Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And wow, right? This week has been ups and downs, I think, emotionally. And so I wanted to talk today, reflect a little more on just the emotional side of this and also tie in just the ebbs and flows of recovery and growth and self-discovery. So it's funny, like, while all this stuff that I'm going through this week, on Tuesday I hit a real low. On Wednesday, I felt even lower. And then I just zoomed right back up. Emotionally, I felt like I had hope after I did some additional research. And I had one of my friends in sobriety reach out to me. I think it was yesterday. She left me a voice text message, like a voice message. And she said that she had seen my Facebook message about how I was needing some encouragement because it seemed like my diagnosis was shifting. And by the time she was able to leave me that message, I had already done research that that gave me some hope. And I was thinking while I was listening to her encouraging message, like, that's life, isn't it? There's constant movement, and we can be in a certain place emotionally, and if we just sit there, if we just stand still. I talk a lot about standing still and how I used to always be standing still when I was still drinking. And today in sobriety, I don't stand still. And I started putting into action what I needed to do in order to build myself back up. It didn't feel good. I was very frustrated on Tuesday and Wednesday. I was very sad. I was very hopeless. But I did the work anyway. I kept doing podcasts. I kept writing blogs. I actually leaned in further into this recovery thing I have going on here, this podcast, my website, the blogs, my connections in social media. I was leaning into all of those things on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I was still moving. And if I did not lean in to these supportive methods and techniques, I would have been moving downward. You understand? Like, I would have been continuing to move downward into a depression, into a downward spiral, because I'm gonna move in some way, because life is constant. The journey is constant movement. And I need to either be growing, or if I'm not growing, then I'm going to be declining. That's just the way that it works for me. Standing still, where does that fit in? Standing still is what I reflect on when I was drinking and I was not engaging in life at all. I feel like I had already gone as low as I could get, and I was just still there. I wasn't doing anything to evolve. I wasn't reevaluating anything. I wasn't adapting to anything. I wasn't striving for growth or anything like that. Um, and today, I don't do that. Today, I'm always evolving. No matter how shitty I feel, I, I am always fighting. I don't know why I have that in me, but thank God I do. Um, and I'll talk a little bit about, I went to a stroke recovery support group today, and it was really eye-opening to me, and I want to talk about that a little bit later. So, as I'm evaluating my emotions, looking at my experiences, I'm always trying to figure out what is it that I've talked about. Like, this is such a helpful dose of medicine for me to do this research every day on recovery, emotional, physical, mental, because when I'm feeling fine, I'm putting in the work to prepare a foundation for when I'm not fine. And it happened. It happened this week. I became not fine. And I was able to really put into practice the stuff that I'm talking about in the podcast. And it may seem like when I'm talking in the podcast that maybe it comes across as you need to do this, you need to do that. That's not my intention here. I'm talking, as much as I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself. This is just an exercise for me to make these things come to fruition for me, and it worked this week. It really did work. So some of the things that I have been thinking about today are, one is, how life is in motion, like I was just talking about. And because it's in motion, I'm always creating to-do lists. And this was when I was at work, I had my list of, what are my priorities today? We even had like my group, even for some time, had like a daily check-in, and we would tell each other what our top priorities were for the day and what we were going to be focused on. And then we could respectfully engage with each other if we needed to, or if somebody needed extra time to be kind of isolated and unplug in order to work on something, then they could. But it was all about to-do lists. It was all about what we need to do. What I do now that I'm not working and I'm full-time recovery, I'm still having to-do lists. I have my Remarkable tablet, and at first thing in the morning, I go to my sobriety meeting, and while I'm taking notes on what I'm learning from the literature in the meeting, I'm like taking notes on how it resonates with me. I'm also, as different things come to mind about what I want to do today, I put a little note. And so by the end of the 1 hour sobriety meeting, I have all of my notes about the literature and how it applies to me in sobriety and in stroke recovery. And then I also, intertwined in that, have a bunch of to-dos. So I do like this brain dump in the morning. It works for me. But have you considered the power of having a stop doing list? So this is interesting. What I was thinking about, so the concept resonates with me deeply, of course, right now, because I've got all these things I can't do, that I shouldn't do, that I have to stop doing in order to protect my head and decrease the amount of pain that I have on a daily basis. And, but if I think about this on a larger scale, like let's go back to work, that idea about how my staff was all coming together at the beginning of the day and we're like, these are all of our to-do lists. Where do we overlap? What are our priorities today? What we didn't do on a daily basis is come together and say, what should we not do today? What can we clear our plate of today to make things easier so that we can focus on our priorities? We don't do that daily. What we did was, I wouldn't even say we did it weekly. I mean, we had our weekly meeting where we would prioritize our large projects, but really it was more of a monthly or bi-weekly um, thing where we would come together and be like, okay, what on our list, what on our whole department list of things that we need to do is just not reasonable. You know, what is important and what is not important? What is one of my mentors always used to say, what is important and urgent? And what is just important but not urgent? And what is urgent but not important? And you have these, and what is not urgent and not important? And you have these four squares, and you put all of your stuff in these different squares. And then you can figure out, okay, you've got to start with what is urgent and important. And then next you're going to go to what is important but not urgent. Then you go to what's urgent and not important, and so on. So we would do that much less regularly, I think, than we should. And I think it's the same in life, in emotional and mental health. I think that as the more that I'm really spinning around about this idea today, is to think about what are the things emotionally and mentally that I am doing that I need to look at and stop doing. And my sobriety program, we do what is called step 10. And step 10 is this inventory. It's a self-reflection, and you're really confronting your day, either spot checks or at the end of the day, or you have this like clean house kind of step 10 where you sit down with your sponsor or somebody that you trust, and you really look at all of your relationships and clean house. So, this this idea of step 10 is kind of like a stop doing list, you know? At the end of the day, when I do my little prayer card that I've talked about, and I ask myself, where have I been angry, resentful, dishonest, all of afraid? I evaluate all of that stuff, and I see, does somebody deserve an apology from me? Is there something that I need to address inside myself so that I can be a better human tomorrow? So I do this every day. Every day I do it. And the more that I've practiced this, the more I'm able to do these spot checks throughout the day, where maybe I'm talking with my boyfriend and we're talking about something, and I feel like something that came out of my mouth was wasn't kind or had a bad motive attached to it or something like that, then I can do a spot check and acknowledge to myself. I don't stop our conversation. I'm like, hey, honey, I'm totally a bitch. I shouldn't have said, it's just I'm constantly aware of how I'm treating other people. But more than that, all of this is reminding me of being constantly aware of how I'm treating myself and what do I need to stop doing. Instead of building this to-do list about I need to exercise, I need to do my podcast, I need to do my hobbies. I've been talking even this week about all of these things that I engage in order to keep myself spiritually fit and make sure that I'm lifting myself out of this, down that I've been in this week. But what are the things that I need to stop doing? And I'll talk about one of those things because it's been a little eye-opening to me this week. So, I'm dealing with this medical stuff, and I had to leave my job. And I found myself last night, after I recorded my podcast, I went on to LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, I'm connected to several people that I was friends with in high school. And they just so happen to be absolutely beautiful, smart, funny, intelligent people. And it shows in how they have approached their life. And they all appear, right? Appear to be successful and happy. And I found myself last night looking at one of their posts, and she just looked so happy and beautiful and successful. And I thought, why do I feel negativity? Why do I feel upset? Why do I feel bad? Like, what is this feeling? And I've talked about over this podcast show, I talk about when we have a feeling, we need to be able to give it a name, because that's the only way that we can address it, is to give it a name. So I'll tell you, I couldn't figure out what the name was for this feeling until this morning in my sobriety meeting, and it hit me right at the end of my sobriety meeting. And it's probably obvious to you, but it was not obvious to me. So the feeling is jealousy. So that makes me feel awful that I'm jealous of somebody that I care very much about, that really I have no contact with anymore, but I care deeply about them. So why would I be jealous of them? Why can't I be happy for their success? Why can't, you know, why am I jealous? And I realized as I was sitting in my sobriety meeting that I think it's because I was at the top of my game in my career. I was really successful as far as I wanted to be successful. Success for me looked a certain way, and I was right there at the cusp of it. I was just getting ready to do the things that I had been striving to do. And it was ripped out from under me. I had to make the decision that I can't do that anymore because it hurts. Like, it physically hurts, and I can't do it anymore. And so I am jealous that these other people have all of this success that's happening because I feel like I don't. I feel like I had to give it all up. And that makes me jealous. It makes me sad. It makes me angry. It makes me frustrated. Um, and then why am I jealous of their beauty? Why am I jealous that they're fit and beautiful? Because I don't feel healthy, because I can't go running. And yoga is even a stretch for me because I feel like shit all the time. Of course, I'm going to be sad about that. And all the wishing in the world is not going to make me any different than what I am today. And yeah, I have a lump in my throat because I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that pain. I don't know if that pain as it sits inside of me, because jealousy is a secondary or tertiary feeling. I've talked about that before. So jealousy is a combination of other core feelings, which can be anger, which can be fear, sadness, those primary feelings. So I need to address those primary feelings, because what they're coming out as I constantly move through life and constantly engage with other people, is it's starting to morph into secondary and tertiary feelings that if I don't keep those under control, I can damage relationships. Because, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it seems like it's fine. I can feel whatever I want when I'm looking at somebody's picture or video or whatever on LinkedIn. But it's not fine if somebody's standing in front of me and those secondary and tertiary feelings come out. And I guarantee you it's written all over my face if I'm feeling them, because I'm a very animated person. I don't know if you know that, but I guess you don't, because I don't have video for these, but I happen to be a very animated person. Um, so I need to look at it, and this isn't a one time deal. This is a process. I need to continuously keep looking at it. And I need to, growth comes from not adding more back to the to do list and the not to do list. Growth comes from not adding more to what I need to do in recovery, but shedding old habits, old thoughts, old behaviors that no longer serve me. And it takes time. It takes time, and it's painful. And I did a lot of this when I got sober, and I guess I didn't realize that, and maybe that's why it's challenging to go through big events in your life when you're in sobriety, because you have to do it again. That's what I feel like. I feel like I have to do it again. I feel like I need to reassess, because some of those old behaviors and old thoughts and habits are rearing their ugly heads right now. This jealousy thing that I've always had, or this I've told in multiple podcast episodes how that I can be a bitch, and that will come out if I'm not secure in my own life and my own, whatever's going on. If I'm not feeling confident about how I look or how I feel or how successful I am. And this is uncharted territory for me. I So I need to confront these feelings that I, you know, have transformed these behaviors and thoughts and everything are showing themselves a little differently with with this challenge that I'm under. It looks a little differently. So I need to address it in this new shape that it's taking. Um, so it's eye opening, and but I need to do it to protect my relationships, and I need to understand the roots of my emotions, and I need to acknowledge discomfort and learn to refocus on positive things, learn to refocus on I'm successful in recovery right now. I'm not just sitting on my ass and doing nothing. On day one, I started to build this podcast and my website and a blog and my network in social media. And there's so much ahead of me, like that there's so many lives that I can impact just by talking about my story. And it's not something that I have to work. I think we'll see, but I feel like it's just something that's going to happen naturally. That because when you talk to people, if I go to work, and forgive me because I'm always referencing work because, well, that's what I loved it. But I would go to work and, the more I opened myself up and talked to people, the more relationships I had, the more friends I had, the better I worked with other people. And I believe other people really liked to work with me because I was always positive and open and willing to share. And I feel like doing the same thing on this public platform is going to have the same result. And of course, it's going to take time, but I got all the time in the world. I got all the time in the world. So, um, looking at success for me has always been this, I don't want to say the corporate ladder because it wasn't my position that I was aiming for. It was what I was doing that I was aiming for. I wanted to contribute to strategy, corporate strategy. It's what I did with um, I feel like it was what I contributed to with my family business on a smaller scale. My brother and my dad may not agree. I don't know. Hopefully, I was contributing. But I wanted to do the same thing for this company that I was just at. And I just started to do it. And then it went away. And that's what success looked like to me. It was this big dream that I had. It was a big dream that I had. I remember sitting in the all hands meeting when I first started working there, and I thought, this is what I want to do here. And I just started doing it. I mean, I can't even tell you, it makes me so angry that I can't do that. It just makes me so angry. But it's what I have. It's what's been given to me. That this is what life looks like for me now. And I have to figure out what that next big dream is. And I need to celebrate small steps towards whatever that next big thing is. Because I've said it over and over, it's not the destination, it's the steps that I'm taking towards it. That I need to be joyful along the way. Um, and and I feel like I'm doing it, but it's just a very emotional week for me. And So finding joy in success, no matter how big or small it is measured, you know, how no matter how small it seems. And I don't know quite what that is right now. To be honest with you, I can tell you what it is. Whenever I see one person, one additional person follow my podcast, just one, I feel successful. So maybe I already do know what it is, you know? Maybe I already do know what it is. So I just made myself kind of smile because that's what I need this for. I need to talk it out. Um, so I went to this stroke support group today. And there was just 3 of us who showed up. And it was a stroke support group for um, that was started by I'm not going to really, I'll tell you later what it is, but I would need to get permission, really, I think, to talk about it. But it's a young woman who I've met over social media who also had a stroke. And she also left her job about the same time that I just left my job. And she's years into her stroke, just like I'm years into my stroke. Um, we have different impairments from the stroke, but we have the same pain emotionally. And she was sharing about that pain today. And when I was in the meeting, I was not feeling like my emotions were right at the surface during that meeting, like they are right now. um, but I was listening to her, and she was crying, and she was really just being 100% honest, and it was beautiful. And I'm sure she didn't feel beautiful, but it was beautiful to watch what happens when people come together that are suffering from the same pain. It's like being in my sobriety meetings. You know, we all have different experiences with alcoholism, but we all suffer from the same pain on the inside. You know, I don't care who you are. If you came in from the street and you lived in a tent, or you were me and you were driving drunk, you know, to and from work and, you know, all of this stuff, it it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside because the pain is the same on the inside. Now, some of us reach different lows, and some people, you know, may have caused uh, death of somebody, you know, in a car accident or something like that. So, some of those different kinds of pains, of course, are going to be different, but this alcoholism, the disease, is exactly the same. And no matter how different we are, we can all come together and we can help each other. And that's what I saw happen today. I've been in a lot of different stroke support groups over the past few months, and this is the first one that I've been to that we actually just sat and talked. There was there was time. There was time because there was only 3 of us, and each of us told our story, the parts of the story that we wanted to tell. And this young woman um, said to us that she didn't know why she had the stroke. I don't know why I had the stroke either. I have some suspicions as to why I had the stroke, COVID vaccine, but That's just a suspicion that no doctor will back up. Um, she said, I don't know why I had the stroke, but if I have another one, I don't want to live through it. And that destroyed me. That absolutely destroyed me because she's my sister now. You know, she's a stroke sister to me. And she was just a lovely person. And to think that she feels so hopeless that she would not want to live if it happened again, it just tears me up. And so I told her, I want to talk to you every day. You're not alone. She says she feels very alone. I said, you're not alone anymore. You know, that's what we do in sobriety. We have sponsors and sponsees. We come together and we encourage each other. And that's exactly, I have every bit of energy that I have to do that for another stroke survivor as I do for another alcoholic. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if she listens to my podcast. If you're listening, I am 100% your stroke sister now. I'm just telling you that. So beware. um, so I, you know, each day is an opportunity. It is. And I know that sounds like a bunch of fluff, but this woman who left me the voice text earlier, where she had left me a message about um, encouraging me when I had already started lifting myself up again. Um, what I said back to her was, it's amazing how we can be in one place and we don't see, we can't see that the pain is going to end. We can't see that the frustration is going to subside. All we can see is it's like a wall in front of us, and we can't see what's on the other side of it. And some of us push the wall down. Some of us walk around the wall, you know, and some of us stand still and don't do anything. And each day is an opportunity to get by that wall, to push it down, to walk around it, to deconstruct it, whatever you have to do. But every day is an opportunity to redefine the path to get over the wall, around the wall, under the wall, through the wall, whatever you have to do. Today's an opportunity to break it down and to grow and to get where you need to go. And it's just really fascinates me, this path that I've been on in my life. It fascinates me that when I was in college and I lost, this friend of mine in a car accident, how I never knew back then. I remember sitting in a stairwell, sitting at the top of the stairwell and thinking, maybe I should just go up to the rooftop. Maybe I should just jump. I wouldn't have done it. I don't think I would have done it, but because I was drunk and I was just thinking, and we're free to think when we're young, but it's acting, it's the part that's scary. But I never knew back then when I was sitting in that spot what was to come in my life. I didn't know that I would be able to work through, stand up to, face, and stand strong against all of this adversity that I'm facing right now in my life. I felt like back then that I could not even properly grieve somebody dying, you know? And I don't know if today I'm still doing it properly. But back then, back then I kept drinking. It took me decades to grieve that guy because I just was like, nope, I can't handle it. And you know what? I can't handle anything. I'm going to drink through everything. And I never dealt with a damn thing. And now that I'm sober, sorry, I'm going to say that word. I'm strong. I'm strong and I can do it. And I feel like I can do anything. I do. I feel like I can do anything. Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe I didn't feel like that. But what is it? It's Friday. 4 days later, that's not so bad. That's not bad in 4 days to go from feeling hopeless to feeling like I can do effing anything, you know? So that's what I've got for you today. Wow, that was a powerful one, huh? So let's keep moving forward. We'll keep moving forward. And when you feel like you're at your lowest point, remember that you just can't see the other side of the wall. You have to figure out how to redefine the path to get around the wall because there's a way. There's always a way. That I know for sure. There's always a way. If I'm still sitting here right now, there's a freaking way for all of us. So that's all I've got for you. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.